godnosti in thee. If you have the free of the message, the man gives the right message.
Right, my Sabbath is the first day. This Saturday is the 33rd Saturday.
God Almighty bless you to have long peace and to use your possibility for the benefit of men. Thank you very much.
This is quite an evening for me. You probably didn't recognize the 30-year-old kid who was in that movie, but I was the one in the light suit who walked up to the Rebbe twice. Last week, I received an unexpected phone call from Rabbi Abraham Shem Tov. I'm more than aware that there's more than one Rabbi Shem Tov in the audience tonight, so when I talk about Rabbi Shem Tov, it is Abraham Shem Tov. I was surprised to hear from him, as we don't speak that often, and I don't usually see him except before Pesach, when he sells my hummus and gives me a box of shmura matzah. But before we got into our conversation, I asked him if my wife Nancy and I would see him here tonight. He laughed. I didn't think there was anything funny about that question, but he laughed. He said, "Not only will I see you, but I am asking you to say a few words about your experience with the Rebbe." Now, this was over 40 years ago. This film that you saw, of me anyway, was 1975 at that Farbrengen in Crown Heights. I still remember the address, 770 Eastern Parkway. I was speechless when the rabbi called me, and certainly I'm honored to have been asked to be here tonight. First, though, let me tell you how I met my friend, Rabbi Shem Tov. In 1967, I worked in Washington for Pennsylvania's Republican Senator Hugh Scott. He was a great friend of our Jewish community, so whenever anybody needed something important from him, they went to one of his close Republican friends, Len Goldfein, Phil Seltzer, Ed Rosen, or Dick Fox, and I understand that Dick is here tonight. All friends of Lubavitch. So being Jewish and from Philadelphia, I was asked by Senator Scott to be his liaison to the Jewish community, whether it was on Israel or Russian Jewry, which at the time was very important. So it was no surprise that the senator asked me to meet with these men to learn about the work of Rabbi Shem Tov and Lubavitch in Philadelphia, and about the school for immigrant girls in Israel, Kfar Chabad. When Senator Scott heard about the school, he arranged for a $500,000 federal grant to support its mission. Now I have to tell you, in those days, $500,000 was a lot of money. And Nancy and I were privileged to visit the school and to see for ourselves. Over time, my relationship with Rabbi Shem Tov grew, and not being the least bit hesitant or shy, he frequently asked for my help. But this one was a big request. He wanted Senator Scott to get the United States Senate to approve a resolution honoring the Rebbe on his birthday, and if that wasn't enough, he asked me to have the President of the United States, Gerald Ford, come to a Lubavitcher dinner in Philadelphia to mark the occasion. Well, the Senate did pass the resolution unanimously, which in today's Senate doesn't happen very often. And Rabbi Shem Tov then asked me to come to a Farbrengen in New York to present it personally to the Rebbe. So I hopped on a plane, we landed at LaGuardia, and we sped to Crown Heights. The Farbrengen was already underway, so we climbed through a back window behind the stage on which the Rebbe sat. I was shown to my seat nearby, and after a while was motioned by the Rebbe to approach him. And after a few words of greeting, I handed the resolution to him personally. It was a great honor. And President Ford did come to Philadelphia for our dinner. He greeted the audience, and he talked about his great friendship with Senator Scott. In fact, the president said that he often turned to Senator Scott whenever the president said he had sore ass. At that very moment, I immediately looked around to see the faces of confusion and disbelief upon hearing these unusual words from the President of the United States. Of course, the President meant to say "Saurus." He meant to say "Saurus," not the other words. But we all had a good laugh at his obvious mispronunciation. If you never had the experience of attending a Farbrengen, and you saw it here, led by the Rebbe, then it is difficult to describe. A sea of fervent followers, chanting, singing, swaying, all trying to catch the Rebbe's eye with a toast to his good health. This went on for several hours in Yiddish. Now, in the house in which I grew up, the only Yiddish I ever heard spoken was between my parents and my grandparents when they did not want me to know what they were talking about. Of course, I neither speak nor understand Yiddish, so I just soaked it in and enjoyed the moment. But it was getting late, and I had a plane to catch back to Washington, so we left the way we came in, through a back window, into the car, and off to the airport. There will never be another Farbrengen with the Rebbe. So enjoy this evening, and remember him in your prayers, your minds, and your hearts. Thank you very much.